All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. This week we are doing the Team Kentucky Update from the Rotunda because in addition to the good news on economic development and other updates, we are recognizing Overdose Awareness Day here in Kentucky. And while it might seem a little strange to have good news on jobs and then acknowledge such an important and serious topic, I think those especially in treatment and recovery know how connected they can be. Having a good job, second chance employment, opportunity waiting to help put families back together. So we'll start the way we normally start, with good news here in Kentucky, with more good jobs coming to our Commonwealth. The Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority approved state incentives for 10 new projects today, which represent $275 million in new investment and more than 315 full-time new jobs being created and 215 jobs being retained for Kentuckians. Including the projects announced today, administration to date, we have set a record for any governor of $27 billion in new investments, and we've created more than 47,500 new full-time jobs for Kentuckians. With today's approvals, we've got some great announcements to make. I'll kick us off with an exciting announcement for our bourbon and spirits industry. Bespoken Spirits, Inc. is a privately owned modern spirits startup company that is marrying and blending technology with tradition to take craft spirits to new heights. Now, Bespoken Spirits was founded in 2019 in San Francisco, California, but as you'll hear in a moment, its leadership is rooted in Kentucky. And today, the company announced it's relocating its headquarters and manufacturing operations to Lexington, Kentucky. This $3.2 million investment will see Bespoken Spirits relocate to Lexington's Gray Line Station. The move will create 16 high-wage jobs for Kentuckians, jobs that, get this, pay an average hourly wage of $70.77, including benefits. Bespoken Spirits' innovative process unlocks billions of flavor combinations while reducing the environmental impact of each sip. Bespoken has received well over 150 medals in spirits competitions, and the relocation of Bespoken Spirits headquarters and manufacturing operations will include building improvements, equipment, startup costs, and other related expenses. The move will also enable the company to move up in the supply chain to include distillation, completing the characterization and recipe catalog from grain to glass. Bespoken is a welcome addition to the Lexington community and will continue to solidify Kentucky as the world's leading producer of bourbon. I want to thank company leaders for their vision to grow in Kentucky, and I look forward to their continued success in the Commonwealth. Now I'd like to welcome Scott Savage, Vice President of Research, Development, and Production, and Debbie Savage, Kentucky Site Coordinator of Bespoken Spirits, to come up and share in the good news. Nice to see you. Please.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say it's definitely an honor and a pleasure to be here today to hear and share in this great news that we're bringing the company to Kentucky. I'd like to thank Colin Dodd and Nikki Goldie from the Kentucky Cabinet, as well as Commerce Lexington. They were instrumental in helping me put together the application that was approved this morning. I'd also like to thank Gina Greathouse from Commerce Lexington, Mayor Linda Gordon from Lexington, who's been very accommodating, very helpful in the process of starting the move, as well as Kevin Atkins, the Chief of Development Officer for Lexington and Fayette County. So who am I? I'm Scott Savage. I'm born and raised in Lexington. Went to Henry Clay High School. I was a pleasure to sit under our statesman's statue there. Graduated from University of Kentucky with a degree in engineering. And for 23 years, I worked for a semiconductor company in downtown Lexington. Not a lot of people are aware, but there's a high-tech Silicon Valley company right in downtown with over 70 people. And the founder of that company is now a VC based in California. And he called me and said, Scott, I know you have a job already, but would you be interested in building a distillery for me in Kentucky? And I said, yes, no hesitation whatsoever. So it's been a whirlwind since February, since I started. But we are now in the process of moving to Gray Line Station. We're building a distillery in the former Lextran bus garage. And I'm very excited to be here. So thank you very much again.
Great news.
Thank you.
Also, from this month's KEDFA meeting, we have a company that's investing $1.2 million into an expansion in Jefferson County that will retain 215 jobs and add 5 new positions. Winston Industries is a Kentucky-based manufacturing company that was founded in 1969 thanks to the support of one of the state's most recognized icons, Colonel Harlan Sanders. The company's pressure fryer was Sanders' preferred method for cooking his world-famous original recipe, which led to Winston Industries' continued success supporting KFC's restaurants across the globe. While KFC is still the company's largest customer, Winston Industries' products and services have evolved throughout the years. The company's broad portfolio of products is found in every food service market segment, from cafeterias and local schools to the finest dining establishments in the world. The company is also diversified into other areas beyond food service, creating a separate division that specializes in contract manufacturing of circuit boards. The Jefferson County project will see investments in automation and employee-focused improvements to increase manufacturing capabilities and the overall quality of the facility. Kentucky has been home to Winston Industries for 5 decades, and I'm proud that they are growing in our Commonwealth. I'd now like to welcome Sean Tanner, President and CEO of Winston Industries, to come up and say a few words on behalf of the company. Sean? Again, thanks for being here.
Thank you. So I wanted to start by thanking Governor Beshear for all of your support, as well as the dedication to really trying to generate economic growth in Kentucky. It's actually been a little bit, it's a little bit surreal standing here right now and seeing the Team Kentucky sign behind me. As a little bit of a backstory, I took over as president and CEO of Winston. It was in March of 2020. So I think Governor Beshear can relate when I say it's quite the challenging time. Yes. So anyway, in effort to keep my pulse on everything, I started watching the Team Kentucky updates. And speaking candidly, it really helped me. I was watching and seeing the transparency and the details, and it helped me manage my way through the chaos. My wife, she does actually have an Andy t-shirt. Oh. FYI. So anyway, as things have normalized now, Winston, we're now focused on growth. And so our company, it's a multi-divisional manufacturing company. And we have 252 employees today, 214 of which are residents of Kentucky. The rest are mostly Hoosiers. We sell to globally, so we're selling to over 100 countries and 6 continents. We're still not selling into Antarctica, which, as you can imagine, why. I have tried to convince my friends over at KFC to open a location there, but they haven't taken the bait yet. So I keep trying, because they're growing everywhere, and that's what we want to do, is we want to support that growth. In addition to that, we have our electronics division. And our electronics division is also growing quite a bit. And one of the big reasons is the reshoring that's coming from Asia back to the U.S. And so it's coming back to the U.S. and it's coming back to Louisville, Kentucky, which is good for us. So as we look, the Kentucky Reinvestment Act, it's allowing us to make significant investments back into both of those manufacturing areas. We're investing very heavily into technology, and these technologies are going to help increase capacity, retain jobs, increase jobs, and then ultimately support our customers' very aggressive growth. So we're really looking forward to that. The second tier that we're really trying to focus on with this is trying to help our employees that are already at Winston grow internally. And that's going to be, job development, growing into different skill sets, and ultimately increasing the pay. So at the end of the day, it's all about growing together, growing with our customers, growing with our employees, and growing with the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The KRA, it's helping us do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We also saw growth this month in the Commonwealth's distribution and logistics sector, with HVAC Distributing, a national wholesale distributor of heating and air conditioning equipment. The company's leaders have announced plans to expand their Graves County operation for a second time with a $5.35 million investment that's going to create 40 new jobs. That means since I've become governor, we've announced 792 new jobs in Graves County alone, with $56.7 million in investment. Remember, this is a community that was devastated by tornadoes in December of 2021, and we made a promise to rebuild, but nothing helps us to save the town of Mayfield or Graves County more than good jobs that keep people there and bring people there. HVAC's distributing their expansion provides growth to form the Hickory headquarters for the Mr. Cool brand, as well as provide space for its recent launch, Mr. Cool Franchising LLC. For this expansion, the teams plan to build out 22,000 square feet of office space at the Remington Way location in the Hickory Industrial Park. The expansion will complement the distribution site up the hill as part of the Industrial Park's campus. In August 2020, we announced their first expansion. That was a second operation in the Hickory Industrial Plant. They made a $7 million investment, created 175 jobs at that time. I want to congratulate HVAC Distributing on its most recent expansion, and I remember talking to its president directly at the groundbreaking for Osmondson, because you could see his facility from there and his excitement to help the people of Graves County to create jobs right there and to be a part of that rebuilding effort is something really special. I also want to highlight an exciting project that's taking place in Henderson County that expands on Kentucky's extensive manufacturing industry. Today, Allstate Tower, an entity of Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group, announced an $850,000 expansion of its Western Kentucky headquarters operation. This will create 10 new full-time jobs, pushing their total employment to 119 here in Kentucky. The expansion will feature the installation of a robotic welder. This robotic welding system integrates new technology to produce fast, high-quality welds. The investment will allow the company to increase output and pursue additional business opportunities. This is a 104-year-old family-owned business that's been based in Henderson since the early 1980s. The group consists of 4 companies that provide engineered products, both in the manufacturing and construction segments throughout the country's infrastructure. Kentucky's manufacturing segment is stronger than ever. And that's why I'm confident that regardless of what happens with the national economy, we are going to continue to be strong and to grow, especially with the reshoring that was just mentioned. Allstate Tower and the Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group are an important part of the Henderson community, one that is growing really quickly, and it's great to see them continue to grow. And I believe here in the month of September, we're going to cut the ribbon, and Pratt Paper in Henderson is going to begin operations. It's the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill on planet Earth right here in Kentucky. Huge number of jobs, great paying jobs. We're excited that's coming to fruition. Our next announcement today is a big one for Clark County, which I called home for a number of years. Washington Penn was approved today for state tax incentives to support a planned investment of nearly $105 million, creating 88 good-paying jobs in a new facility in Winchester, Kentucky. The company is a leading provider of compounds that supply the automotive, appliance, construction, consumer, packaging, and industrial markets. This is a family-owned manufacturer founded in 1954 that now operates over 50 plastic compounding lines across 8 facilities in North America and Europe, including a production facility right here in Frankfort, where it's operated since 1991 and currently employs 96 people here in Franklin County. Due to their success at that location, and that's the great part about expansions. It means a company has had such good success, knows our workforce is so wonderful, they decide to do even more. So due to the success of the Franklin County location, the company hopes to locate a second Kentucky facility of 250,000 square feet on a 70-acre rail-served site within the Winchester Industrial Park, where it'll produce its compounds in pellet form to be shipped to customers across the nation. And there's more. Kinlake Foods, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Kroger Company, has been approved for incentives on a planned $24 million project, creating 15 new jobs in Murray, Kentucky. The project will expand the company's Callaway County operation by 6,000 square feet, including the installation of new processing equipment for dry roasting and jar packaged for Kroger's retail division. Kinlake's provided snack, baking, and produce nuts to Kroger since 1982. The Murray plant was the first of 41 Kroger manufacturing plants located in the United States, and today it employs over 340 Kentuckians. That's a lot of families that know how they're going to support themselves and provide more opportunity for that next generation. Back in April, we announced that augmented reality and engagement software company My XR Inc. plan to locate at the Western Kentucky University Innovation Campus. And earlier this week, Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman, who's with us today for some announcements, joined state and local officials and company leadership to cut the ribbon on the new facility. The new regional headquarters is bringing 60 full-time jobs to Bowling Green. MyXR will benefit from the new Immersive Experience Innovation Lab at the Innovation Campus, which focuses on creating immersive environments for various industries, and we've already had several announcements locating there. The lab will help the company continue to develop its augmented reality technology and explore new applications. The new headquarters will also allow the company to expand MyXR Engage software, which integrates across digital platforms to increase engagement with gamification and rewards technology. I was doing well until that word. I want to congratulate the company on this recent event, and I look forward to seeing it grow and thrive here in the Commonwealth. And last, on the economic development front, as you know, over the last few months, we've announced approvals in the initial round of the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, or the KPDI program. These are grants that help us take different sites that are across the Commonwealth and improve them. The idea that every community should have their own Glendale, where we invested for over a decade and landed the biggest economic development announcement in our history, where we're building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, and they are ahead of schedule. This program allows us to improve sites everywhere in Kentucky to make sure we're ready for that next employer and the next one. Thus far, we've rolled out over $21.5 million in state funding for 37 site and building development projects across the state. Those numbers include 2 projects that we're announcing today, one in Graves and one in Harrison County. They were approved today for a little over $1.3 million in funding. So first, the Cynthiana Harrison County Economic Development Authority, in partnership with the City of Cynthiana, is assisting in the development of a business park in Harrison County. The $2.3 million project was approved for $450,000 in state funds. Then the Graves County Fiscal Court, on behalf of the Graves County Economic Development, Inc., will assist in the development and construction of a spec building in the Hickory Industrial Park. There's a lot going on in that park. In fact, the very first PDI grant that was given in Mayfield, and that's where we broke ground on Osmondson, I think just about a year and a half after that tornado event. This building will provide Graves County with new business opportunities and provide the community with significant jobs and capital investment. Later today, I'm going to be in Graves County to celebrate a huge milestone for recovery and rebuilding. We're going to be dedicating the 100th new home that has been funded through the Team Western Kentucky Tornado Relief Fund. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Lieutenant Governor, Jacqueline Coleman, for an update, and then we'll be back with a lot more news.
All right, thank you, Governor. So before we get to the very important recognition of Overdose Awareness Day, we have some other important updates, and I want to highlight some of the new awards that we are announcing today to support crime victims and survivors. Since day one, our administration has been committed to increasing access to victim services in every corner of the Commonwealth. We've awarded more than $31 million in grant funding to service agencies across the Commonwealth and provided victim services to approximately 258,000 Kentuckians. Earlier this year, Governor Beshear signed legislation into law creating the Safe at Home program, which will protect the residential addresses of survivors of domestic violence and other sexual crimes, as well as the addresses of those who reside in the same household with them. The governor also signed legislation which doubled the weekly amount available for crime victims for lost wages and increased the amount available for funeral expenses. We also increased the overall total award available to help these victims and families from $25,000 to $30,000. And today, we are going to do even more to help our fellow Kentuckians. Each year, the federal government awards Kentucky millions of dollars to assist crime victims. And today, we award that funding to 114 organizations across Kentucky. These are groups who are working tirelessly to make every possible resource available to crime victims on their journey to healing and obtaining justice. and all of those organizations will be listed in the news release that is being issued today. The Federal Victims of Crime Act, better known as VOCA, is vital to serving victims of violent crimes. Across the nation, over the last several years, there have been a significant decrease in federal funding for VOCA grants. To help offset the reduction, an additional $10 million from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 was provided to the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet to distribute to crime victims and service providers. This year's funding includes $17 million in VOCA funds and $10 million in ARPA funds, bringing the total amount to $27 million. One of the organizations that has been awarded both VOCA and ARPA funding is Maryhurst. And Christine Laster, the president and CEO, is here with us today. Maryhurst is being awarded a total of nearly $500,000 divided between VOCA and ARPA funding to ensure therapeutic treatment and clinical care is available to adolescent girls who are victims of child abuse, requiring the highest level of specialized care in Kentucky, including security and facility enhancements. So Christine, thank you for the work that you do and for the work of Maryhurst. The thought of someone harming our children in the worst possible way is unimaginable. And so the work that your team is doing is some of the most important work to be done across Kentucky. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. And would you like to say a few words? All right.
Okay. Hi, and I want to say Christine Laster is a Maryhurst employee who actually secured this funding, and she did all the heavy lifting. But I am Paula Garner, and I am the CEO and president at Maryhurst. And I just want to say it is an honor to be here. I want to thank Governor Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Coleman, and also Secretary Harvey, and really our partners at the Kentucky Justice and Public Safety Cabinet for supporting the services Maryhurst and like agencies do across the state for our state's most vulnerable children. Maryhurst will be celebrating 180 years of service this September, and while the VOCA funds have not supported us all those years, the VOCA funds have supported critical needs for Maryhurst over recent years. The Justice and Public Safety team has invested in so many important needs of our children and families, from strengthening infrastructure to critical technology that allows us to provide the highest quality care. And we know that no child or adult should suffer from a violent crime. But this funding not only aids those survivors in their path towards healing, but it also underscores the importance of collectively striving towards ending violence in our communities. We are grateful for our committed partnership with this administration, and we look forward to working with the governor and his team to create a safe Kentucky for our children today and for future generations. Thank you.
Check over
All
here.
right, we'll take the check.
Sure. You can take that straight to the bank.
There you go. All right, thank you. I don't want to mess you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Now, in a somewhat difficult transition, we're going to give an update on sports betting. Today, we have another update on sports betting, which is now officially 1 week away. Retail locations can open on September 7th and mobile applications start on September 28th. Just this morning, the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission Sports Wagering Advisory Council released a catalog of events for sports wagering, which lists the sports available for wagering in Kentucky. The initial catalog will be effective for the opening retail sports wagering on September 7th. So now Kentuckians know what they can place a bet on, the type of sporting events, and the wagers that will be available. Highlights from the approved catalog include the National Football League, Major League Baseball, National Basketball Association, the Women's National Basketball Association, and NCAA baseball, softball, basketball, football, and hockey. Additional wagering types can be considered for approval by the Horse Racing Commission if requested by a licensee. A sports governing body can also request that wager types be limited or excluded for certain events. So, the countdown is now just 7 days. I'm excited to share that I'll be making the first sports wager in Kentucky at the iconic Churchill Downs racetrack at 10 a.m. on September the 7th. Making sports betting available in Kentucky is what Kentuckians have long wanted, and I want to thank everyone again who helped push it across the finish line. A quick update on rebuilding in the East and the West. 65 households in eastern Kentucky remain in 68 travel trailers. 63 travel trailers are on commercial locations, 5 are on private locations. Since the mission start, 318 households have transitioned into more stable housing and out of the program. FEMA has now approved more than $108.8 million in individual assistance. As of August 30th, 739 survivors had received the maximum award. That's $28 million between the 739. This week, and it's a good update, we have received over $43.7 million in FEMA awards for the buyout program. This is where FEMA purchases someone's property so that they can move to higher ground, because if it's in the floodplain, FEMA will cover it once, but not cover it a second time. So this is why those high ground communities are so important, because people can take the buyout dollars and then relocate at a place they never have to worry about flooding again. These awards include 265 properties from Perry County, the city of Jackson, Breathitt County, Letcher County, Knott County, and Floyd County. Today we also have 2 new awards from the Western Kentucky Safe Fund. Fulton County has been awarded $19,882 for the cost of managing a helpline for tornado survivors. And the city of Bowling Green has received $1.5 million for the establishment of a small business accelerator for impacted businesses needing help to reestablish. All right. So, the second but most important part of our program today is marking Overdose Awareness Day here in the Commonwealth. And as you'll see in a minute if you're watching the live stream, the rotunda is full of so many strong advocates and those that have been affected by addiction. Unfortunately, everyone knows someone who is fighting or has fought, or sadly, that we've lost due to addiction. Each one is a child of God, irreplaceable to their family and to their community. Today, I want to provide an update on our ongoing efforts to fight back and to save lives. This includes update on new drug seizure numbers from the Counter Drug Program and the Kentucky State Police. It'll include new funding awards to local organizations who are making strides in their communities, saving one life, one soul, one spirit at a time. And then I'll invite everyone here today to join me as I sign the Overdose Awareness Day proclamation. While we always have more work to do, let's take just a minute to review how far we've come in our fight against addiction. Since my time as your Attorney General, I've made fighting this drug epidemic a top priority. As Attorney General, I filed more lawsuits against opioid distributors and manufacturers than any other AG in the nation. That included 9 lawsuits against pharmaceutical companies that flooded our communities with addictive pills that ultimately took the lives of far too many of our people. Now, as hundreds of millions of dollars of blood money of the settlement funds from those companies are coming to the state, I want to make clear that those funds should be going directly into treatment, into recovery, and into law enforcement. Every one of these dollars is sacred. They are our best chance to end this addiction crisis that arose in our lifetime, during our lifetime. The use and proper use of these funds are crucial to saving the lives of more Kentuckians. As AG, I also oversaw programs to help more Kentuckians get in treatment. We worked with the lawmakers to drive funding to recovery services, and we launched the opioid disposal program so people could safely dispose of what's in their medicine cabinet. As governor, my administration continues to work with the folks that are here to do everything we can to fight addiction and to support our families that are in recovery. In March, we announced Kentucky was leading the way in providing treatment services to Kentuckians through the state's Treatment Access Program. This program means that money is no longer an obstacle, that we have a bed and a method of providing treatment to every Kentuckian who needs it and is willing to receive it. This program allows those in the greatest need to enter residential treatment. It expands health care coverage, and it increases the number of treatment beds. Thanks to so many people in this room, I'm proud to say that the state has increased its number of treatment beds by 50% since I became governor. And we're now in the process of launching a mobile crisis intervention service through many providers across this state. The program further supports those facing addiction and those in need of suicide and crisis intervention. This year, I signed legislation supporting recovery housing by setting requirements for certification, operation, and oversight so those seeking help get the best help, as well as legislation that ensures direct payments from health insurance to facilities providing care. Last year, we announced a new searchable website to help people find recovery housing. That is findrecoveryhousingNowKY.org. There are currently 186 houses on the website. During my administration, we provided more than $110.5 million from the Office of Drug Control Policy to help support addiction treatment and prevention efforts across Kentucky. And about 3 months ago, we provided an announcement on the hard work and the good work of law enforcement across the Commonwealth in doing everything they can in stopping these very dangerous drugs from flowing into our communities. This is called the Kentucky Counter Drug Program. It includes the Kentucky State Police, the Kentucky National Guard, if you all would come join us, the Appalachian High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, Homeland Security Investigations, and the Drug Enforcement Agency. In the first quarter of the 2023 fiscal year alone, the update we previously provided, enough fentanyl was seized by this team to cause nearly certain death in more than 28.9 million people, or enough to kill every man, woman, and child in Kentucky 6 times over. They've now increased the pounds of fentanyl and number of pills seized compared to the last fiscal year because these folks and others here, law enforcement across the Commonwealth, they do not stop. They know these drugs continue to flow, and they do their very best. As of August, the team has now seized 171 pounds of fentanyl this year. That's just as of August. That compares to 107 pounds last year. That's a nearly 60% increase by the counter drug program. When it comes to the number of fentanyl pills, so many more pills. I remember when we saw the first heroin that had been pressed into pills, and now so much fentanyl coming in that. This year alone, the team has seized 153,718 pills that could have made it in the hands of Kentuckians. You compare to last year, where 5,100 pills were seized. That's more than a 2,900% increase. That both shows what a great job they're doing, but also how the threat continues to grow. We are thankful for the work of this team. We know it is difficult and dangerous, and we're thankful for their life-saving efforts. That's why I was proud to sign the fiscal year 2024 State Drug Interdiction and Counter-Drug Activities Plan in May, which continues this team's work to disrupt the supply of illicit drugs in the Commonwealth. I also want to thank the Kentucky National Guard for their support in the Customs Border Patrol along the southwest border. Last year, the 149th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade provided operational detection and monitoring support, and they were in command of the Task Force Legion, which included 2,500 guardsmen from various states that were mobilized in a Title X federal status from 16 states and territories. Currently, we have 125 of our Kentucky National Guard at the border. Please pray for them, as well as those that recently deployed to the Middle East for over a year. Today, we have Brigadier General Brian Wertzler with us to represent the National Guard. Thank you for the work of the group. I always say it because I've gotten to see it through tornadoes and pandemics and flooding and the fight that you all bring to make sure we protect our people at home and abroad. Kentucky's National Guard is the very best in the entire country. I also want to commend our Kentucky State Police, who work with multiple agencies to remove dangerous drugs from our communities. Today we have Lieutenant Colonel Mike Rogers here from KSP. KSP is also going to receive JAG funding, which we'll discuss here in a minute, but I want to thank you for KSP's great work in this area. Thank you, gentlemen. So thank you again to everybody on this task force. We know that it's going to take everyone. It's going to take their activities. It's going to take treatment. It's going to take recovery. It's going to take us all working together to ultimately end this crisis. But I have to believe that one that arose in our lifetime can end in our lifetime. So to further support the efforts of this group and so many others, including some representatives we have here today, we're taking another step forward by awarding $2.1 million from the federal Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grants, or they're called JAG grants, which is a primary vehicle for funding the criminal justice system in this area. It's going to 14 law enforcement agencies and nonprofit organizations to fight addiction, support victims, increase treatment, and increase community mental health support teams. With today's funding, I've had the honor of awarding about $10 million of JAG grants to assist state and local law enforcement agencies in purchasing the resources that not only allow them to protect Kentucky communities, but ensure their own safety as well while they do this dangerous work. We have two drug task forces here with us today, the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force and the Pennyrile Narcotics Task Force. The work they do makes our communities safer, and we are grateful. So thank you for serving. I'd like to invite David Thompson with the Pennyrile Narcotics Task Force and Scott Hardcorn with the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force to join us. First, we'd like to present the Pennyrile Narcotics Task Force with a little more than $281,000 to help further their work.
Well, first off, we really appreciate you, Governor, and your staff for the continued support that we get each year. Obviously, without this money, our drug task force wouldn't exist. So I do appreciate the work that your grant staff has done. That's a lot of work providing us with the information we need to apply for these grants. And I just can't say enough about your staff and your support. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we are awarding the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force with more than $137,000 to continue serving Kentuckians in Boone, Campbell, and Kenton counties. Talk about your good work. Please.
Governor, thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to be here. It's an honor. It's also an honor to be here on behalf of the Northern Kentucky Drug Strike Force to accept this grant funding. The continued support of the Byrne Justice Assistance Grant is crucial to the sustainability of task forces throughout our great Commonwealth. And something that you said earlier, that the opioid problem that we're facing in this nation and Commonwealth is something bigger than what law enforcement can handle on our own. It takes the treatment and the addiction counseling and everything else all working together. And without the support of our elected officials and our community members, we wouldn't be able to do it. We would be in trouble. But with the great teamwork that we have in this Commonwealth, I think we're in good shape. And I just want to thank you again.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Keep up your great work.
Thank you.
All right. These combined efforts, the efforts of everyone in this room, the efforts of those in law enforcement and treatment and recovery, the amazing efforts of our peer mentors who go back into an unimaginable trauma just to help other people, that are the living embodiment that there is a better day because of the work of tens of thousands of Kentuckians who are out there trying to help people. Kentucky was one of only 8 states in the entire country with a significant decrease in drug overdose deaths last year. Yes, we continue to lose far too many people, but this is hope. This is hope that when we fight and scratch and claw for the inches that become the feet, that become the yards, that become the miles of progress, we can, we will, and we are making a difference. And we have to keep up this work because somebody new is falling into addiction just about every minute, and somebody needs help just about every second. Through the Comprehensive Addiction and Recovery Act, we will help provide overdose response and naloxone administration, training, and distribution to first responders in Kentucky, something that I know on this day is so critical. With these funds, we, through DPH And I want to thank Dr. Stack for his great work and for being here with us today. Are going to provide training and distribution of life-saving naloxone to correctional facilities, emergency management agencies, emergency medical services, fire departments, law enforcement, park ranger services, quick response and rescue, search and rescue teams, and public safety officers, because we know that we need Narcan and naloxone everywhere, because the answer to how many times you resuscitate someone is every single time. That's someone's loved one. And once a life is saved by these heroes, our harm reduction program steps in to provide Kentuckians a link to treatment programs, overdose prevention education, distribution of naloxone and drug testing strips, and other services. My goal is to make sure that every Kentuckian brave enough to take that step towards getting better has the very best services you can find anywhere in the country. We have a special guest with us here today to talk more about this important day. With over a decade of being committed to long-term recovery, Megan Coldiron is Senior Vice President of Business Operations for Addiction Recovery Care. Megan is passionate about serving others in recovery because of her own journey and experience. Megan?
Thank you so much for asking me to be here, and I'm a person dedicated to long-term recovery since September 2011. And I'm extremely grateful for that. I do recognize that I'm one of the fortunate ones that have made it in recovery. And I know from being in recovery as long as I have been and working in the field of addiction and working with addiction recovery care for 10 years, that it's days like today that are so very important. We come together to recognize the issues that we have with addiction, to not sweep them under the rug, to face them head on, and to love people where they're at. People won't always remember the words that you say, but they will remember the way that you make them feel. And I remember exactly how I felt, and they made me feel the day that I walked into treatment. And I mattered. And because someone made me feel that way, I was able to find recovery, and I was able to heal relationships. My dad is here with me today, supporting me. And there are times that he didn't know if I would make it. And so I'm just grateful that we can come together. I also stand here today representing people that we have lost to addiction. Their lives mattered as well. They're important. They're loved. They're wonderful people. I lost many dear friends. So today I stand here representing Jason and Jake and Ryan and Brooke and so many other people that is loved and we have lost. And I stand here today telling their stories so their loss doesn't have to be in vain. Their loss can help somebody find recovery. They can help heal families, and it's not for nothing. So today's like today, and the Overdose Awareness Day, it means that we suit up and we show up, that we don't stop fighting for people, because their lives do matter. People in active addiction, that's somebody's child, that's somebody's mom, that's somebody's brother, that's somebody's sister, and they deserve every opportunity to have recovery. And so I just want to thank everyone for being here today. If there are people out there that are struggling, if you're out there struggling, please know that we are here to love you. You mean everything to someone, and your life does matter. So please reach out. It doesn't have to end. You can find recovery, and there is hope. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you to Megan for truly bringing the meeting of today home and for speaking the names of those that you love, to make sure that we fight in their memory, to make sure other families don't go through what theirs did and other friends don't go through what you've been through. There are so many people to thank today that are making an impact. I want to thank Brenda and Carl Cooley, who lost their son Adam in 2017. I want to thank them for being with us today and being willing to show their pain and grief to raise awareness to others and hopefully prevent it from happening to another family. I know we also have Tessa Turner from the Eastern Kentucky Concentrated Employer Program with us, Harper Michael from the Kentucky Chamber Foundation, Marty Purdy, Vice President for Recovery, Justice, and Health at Volunteers of America Mid-States, and many leaders from the Department of Public Health, including Eric Friedlander, Dr. Stack, and others. I also want to thank partner agencies and organizations that are helping remember those we've lost and helping Kentuckians recover from addiction and find stable employment. They include Team Sharing, the Office of Drug Control Policy, Operation Unite, Volunteers of America Mid-State, the Kentucky Chamber Foundation, the Eastern Kentucky Concentrated Employer Program, the Kentucky Department for Public Health, the Kentucky Department for Behavioral Health, Development, and Intellectual Disabilities, the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort, the Kentucky Pharmacists Association, the Kentucky Income Reinvestment Program, the Kentucky Injury Prevention and Research Center, the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition, Vital Strategies, all those who are out there doing this work, whether we've named them in that list or not, as well as our local health departments that show up every day. I truly believe that we can continue this decline in overdose deaths by working together, by loving instead of judging people who are going through addiction, and by continuing to make sure we have every service, and they should be world-class services for those who are brave enough to reach out for help. Now, this is one of the challenges of our lifetime, and we have to step up as Kentuckians to make sure that we are there for those who need us. Scripture tells us, so continue encouraging each other and building each other up, just like you are already doing. That's the work that everyone here is doing. So to everyone who is out there combating addiction and saving lives today, you are all our official Team Kentucky All-Stars. Now I'd like to invite all our newly minted All-Stars that are here to come up for the signing of the Overdose Awareness Day proclamation, and then I'll take questions from the press that are here. So everybody come on up. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'm going to answer some questions. You're welcome to head out if you want, or you can stay and hear the answers. We'll start with Tom Latek from Kentucky Today. So the state legislature passed a law on how the income tax could be reduced. They put very specific numbers that had to be reached, specific thresholds that had to be reached. And then the budget director has a duty to report to them where all those numbers are. The numbers of where our economy is right now do not meet the thresholds that the legislators themselves set in statute. Joe. There is no Senate vacancy. Senator McConnell has said he's going to serve out his term, and I believe him, so I'm not going to speculate about something that hasn't happened and isn't going to happen. Tessa? Sure.
So voters are choosing who is going to be governor for the next 4 years, and this is an issue that probably isn't going to go away for a few years now, so why should voters not know what your stance is on that?
Well, I respect Senator McConnell and his health enough, first of all, to not sensationalize it. And second, there is no vacancy. So he has said he's going to serve out his term, and I fully believe him. Tessa? Well, Kentuckians, I don't think, have any worry about why the triggers aren't met. We have a booming economy. We had a better July in our general fund revenue this year than we did in the previous year, and that's even with a tax reduction. What the legislature tried to do was set up a responsible method for determining when to take they're not incremental steps, they're real steps in reducing income tax. Now, they may revisit that, but they certainly tried to put together what they believed was a responsible framework, and our job is simply to report to them where that is. Listen, we want to reduce everyone's tax burden. I was able to reduce income tax, property tax rates, and freeze the gas tax when gas was so expensive. But we have to make sure that we are also responsible in that our general fund funds public education. We have to pay our portion of Medicaid, which provides coverage for millions of Kentuckians where health care is a basic human right. And significant reductions in general fund revenue hit higher ed hard every time that they've been there. So right now, we are in a good place. We're going to have a good budget. We just need to be very thoughtful about what the right parameters are for any future reduction, and we'll have that discussion with the General Assembly when they get back, I think January 2nd. Carolina. A zero income tax in Kentucky, as proposed by the other candidate for governor, would require a massive increase in the sales tax and likely inclusion of food and medicine in it. You cannot go to 0% income tax like Daniel Cameron has pushed without either a massive sales tax increase, which is what he would do, or the gutting of K through 12 education, higher education and health care coverage for millions of Kentuckians. Listen, when it comes to economic development, I've delivered record investment, 47,000 new jobs. My opponent has delivered 2 posters with platitudes. There is a proven record, and then there is separate plans that won't work. Sarah? Well, I believe that my opponent yesterday had part of his plan ripping away health care from 100,000 Kentuckians that when asked about it, he didn't know how he was going to do it. I guess he's just heck bent on ensuring that 100,000 Kentuckians can't go to a doctor when they're sick. Listen, if you're looking for a governor that creates jobs, that pushes economic development forward, I think I've proven that I'm your guy. We've had the 2 best years of economic development in our history. We're building the 2 biggest battery plants on planet Earth. We've become the electric vehicle battery production capital of the United States of America. We set our lowest annual unemployment rate last year, our lowest monthly unemployment rate 3 or 4 months ago, our longest period of low unemployment. We had the most jobs filled in the history of Kentucky. We've had the 2nd and 3rd best year for wages. We were number 2 in per capita economic development last year, number 3 in the creation of rural jobs, number 5 in Site Selection's Prosperity Cup, but number 1 in our region for the first time, beating out states called Tennessee and Texas. When it comes to jobs and when it comes to economic development, we are on a historic winning streak. And when you're on a historic winning streak, you don't fire the coach. You put that team out there, you rack up wins, and you bring home championships. And that's what we're doing in Kentucky. We're building a big, bright future for our kids and our grandkids. All right, thank you all very much. Thank you to everyone here recognizing Overdose Awareness Day. Let's continue to fight this fight. Let's continue to save lives. Thank you all.